What you didn't hear there was any details about what led up to the arrest, any evidence they had, who they arrested, the identity of the person, and the next steps. You heard law enforcement there telling the public that we never stopped investigating this case and working this case, thanking law enforcement and investigators. Part of this was due in part to a change in the police commissioner, advancing the case along the way. Just to get you up to speed, the Gilgo Beach murders along Long Island date all the way back to 2010, 2011, where 10 remains were found along that stretch of beach, about 3 miles. Many of the women who had been killed were sex workers, and their families early on in their disappearance and in investigating their deaths had been concerned with missteps in law enforcement and in the investigation, and that their cases didn't get the attention that they deserved at the time. Relentless investigating, though, over the years and reopening essentially the case a couple of years ago potentially led to new leads. One of the biggest pieces of evidence in this case was the killer involved in this string of murders called some of the victims' families using a cell phone that belonged to one of the victims. Did that lead in some part to this arrest today and the person they now have in custody? We will wait for those answers. But to the families of the victims in this case who have gone a decade without knowing, living in fear, wanting closure and wanting information, today is a major development. I want to bring in an attorney representing some of the family members of 2 of the victims in this case, Attorney John Ray. Sir, thank you for your time. I know we don't have a lot of details yet, but what are you hearing and how are the families of those you represent responding to what police have said has taken place this morning?
Well, we were informed very early this morning about the arrest, so we've been on it right away, and we've garnered some information. I'm the lawyer for 2 of the victims of 2 of the families, for Shannon Gilbert's family and Jessica Taylor's family. The information that we've garnered is about this fellow who's about to be arraigned in court this morning, and we've learned that he apparently not only is he a fairly well-known architect, but he owns these very unusually modest, shall I call it, seedy is another way to say it, places both on Long Island and in Massachusetts. These homes, we're not sure why he owns them and what his connection is with that. We've also learned that he is someone who did work for not-for-profit companies dealing with apparently with abuse of some kind, and that he's involved in a very controversial problem up in Harlem in a building that he had some involvement with. That much we know so far. I'm also of the opinion, strongly held, that this man will be charged with, in connection with the 4 of the women who were covered with burlap, who were buried in tandem along Ocean Parkway, back when this all occurred. But there are 7 other victims, including Shannon and Gilbert. So those other victims, I don't think he's going to be charged with. That's what I believe, not at this point anyway. And there's plenty more work to do because those 7 victims count just as much. Now I represent Jessica Taylor's family, and she wanted me to express that she's waited for this day for a long time. She's breathing a sigh of relief, and at least she's very happy that the police were able to finally get somewhere with this.
Well, I appreciate I'm sure you are. I appreciate the very detailed bit of information that you were able to provide to us. They have not named this suspect's identity yet, but is this a person that you or the families were familiar with? Had this person ever been named a suspect or a person of interest in the case?
We have not known of this fellow directly in the case. We knew that there was a strong connection with the Massapequa area of Long Island, which is where he lives and where he was arrested. There were other connections throughout the case. We've been looking at this case for 12 years, and we've gathered enormous amount of information. We do have his first name in a database that we have, but we don't know if it's the same person.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.